Hey YouTube, Dawson Ryder here with my review of Kyuranger episode 9. This was Ryu Commander's official debut. Last week was like part 1, introing with his Violet prototype form, and this was his full-on debut with his usual suit and his actual Voyager. I don't know why I said actual Voyager, there was no fake one last week. What if like he had a fake Voyager last week that was made of cardboard? I guess they kind of are. Anyway, so yeah, this was another good episode. I actually like this episode quite a bit. It's probably one of my more favorite episodes they've done so far. There's nothing revolutionary about the Commander's backstory and setup story, but I still liked it. And actually, I was taken by surprise, not like a, oh my god, Jon Snow's dead, now he's not surprised, or something like that. More like a just, oh hey, that's interesting, that the way they went about the powers. Because obviously last week they established that, you know, he was using a lesser, different form. But in terms of like when we first saw Violet and Sky Blue, I just kind of assumed it would be like oh yeah, there was always 11 Kyurangers, just these 2 Kyutama got lost from time or something, or he was keeping it a secret for X reasons. And so I thought it was actually really neat that when he was searching for the Kyurangers in order to fight dark matter, he actually just used one of the ability Kyutama and created basically a ranger system to use that to morph. And I thought that was really cool. I thought that was a unique explanation for it, just kind of a cool backstory for him. It explained why it looks the way it did, and you know, why it had a time limit, which we found out this week. So yeah, I just really liked that a lot. I thought that was neat. We got a little bit backstory about his former commander, Big Bear, who does not live in the Big Blue House, despite rumors, who sacrificed himself for him, and that's obviously going to tie in somehow to little Kotaro, I think it was Kotaro, the little kid being Sky Blue next week. So that's kind of interesting. Again, nothing revolutionary, but I like it. And it was different than what I thought, so props to them for that. I'm gonna kind of headcanon it, or like, because it was kind of vague the why of his Kyutama was legitimized. I'm gonna say that it was like the celestial powers, because the dragon like talked to him, that granted it to him instead of their stupid power of friendship, like, because they were all like, we can do it, lucky, and then it happened. So I'm gonna pretend it's not that. Because I liked the idea of like whatever force is behind the Kyuranger powers, sort of seeing his attempts as worthy to essentially create a 10th Kyuranger, which was kind of cool. And so his regular suit, I was confused about this last week, because again, I've been kind of muting Toku stuff, and also like even when I wasn't muting it, whenever scans come out, I just look at the pictures. Honestly, I'm 4. Like, I'll just look at the pictures for Toku and then read like a 3-page article about Arrow. But anyway, so like I was confused by like, oh, why doesn't he have the skirt for a split second before I realized like it was all Tokyujiri. I thought maybe that because the last picture I'd seen was just the sketch one, I thought maybe like sometime between the initial sketches they changed their minds, but no. So like the prototype obviously had basically the bottom for Tokyo Nanago, and then the new one has like filled in actual purple boots, and he's got like purple gauntlets. He still has white gloves, I believe. This is gloves. That's Buttery, actually. This isn't the sign for gloves, it's the sign for Buttery. Everyone knows Power Ranger sign language. And then he's got like garter straps or like something, or like, what do you call those things that you put on at the wedding and they pull it off? I don't know. But like silver rings around his thighs, and then the skirt piece, trench coat, whatever. I just don't see it as a trench coat, because when I think trench coat, I think of Castiel, where you can actually see the coat. But as I said last week, I kind of prefer it without. I'm not always against that design in a Toku suit. Like I said, for me it worked for Wizard especially, and also I had no problems with it for Whale, but for some reason it just kind of puts me off a little bit. Like I think I articulated it last week, I just like it without it. I think it sort of makes the cool chest armor stand out, and like the black contrasting off against the purple nicely. And I also just kind of liked the prototypiness of it to make him stand out. Like, instead of having this look that clearly stands out as, oh, he's their mentor, I like the idea of the mentor having a sort of lesser suit. So like I probably would have made most of the changes they did below the waist. That sounded weird, but you know what I mean, except for the skirt. Like, I'd give him the proper belt. I might not put the circles around his thighs, I thought that was kind of weird. But I would make most of the changes to make him seem more complete. I would leave the skirt out. But otherwise, I really like this suit. Like, I think I said last week, the helmet is probably my favorite. I also really like his Voyager. And it had a pretty cool debut, and I liked that we got to see it fighting on its own, and we didn't immediately do the mecha formation and all that. Obviously, we can't because of the bear, although they could probably replace one. Anyway, One thing I did find funny is, like, lots of people have pointed out, like, they did sort of an homage to, I can't remember the name in Dairanger, but Red Dragon Thunder Zord, like, going in front of the moon or the sun or whatever. But honestly, it's funny that that was, like, in the 90s, and this is 2017, and I thought that looked better. Like, I couldn't see the strings, but I feel like I could. Like, it moved really, like, it was fighting, it was like, let me get you. And, like, the movement on the original one from, well, not like it's a remake of it, but you know what I mean, from Red Dragon Thunder Zord came off much more natural. Obviously, it's a bit of a different shape, but it just looked more professional. And it was kind of one of those things where Toku always has kind of a cheap look, although they honestly don't have to. I think they could make it look better on their budget, but that's a whole other issue. But I've noticed more so than I have in years in Kyuranger, lots of little cheap looking things that kind of take me out of it. So that was my only nitpick about that fight. I also kind of like how they tied in his whole last week, his apprehension about them going up against those two assassins because that was who killed Big Bear. I like how they tied that in. And they ultimately tied it into a pretty cliche thing about, like, oh, you have a team now. Although, like, I hated how Lucky, like, Commander's, like, confessing to him, like, well, I was really worried about you guys because my mentor and friend died, and it was my goal to find the Kyurangers, and I can't risk you all. And Lucky's like, it won't happen to me! I'm a loudmouth! Lucky! And then he punched him in the stomach, and it was the best thing to ever happen to humanity. But yeah, I just don't like Lucky. But, other than that, I don't have too much else to say about this episode. Like I said, next week is the kids' debut of Sky Blue. That'll be kind of interesting. Similar but in a different way to when the way Commander is where he skirts this line where half the time I like him and then he'll do something stupid and I'm like, you could end up being a character I don't like. But as of this episode, I actually quite like him. But I mean, with Koshiro, he's kind of on that same level where he hasn't really done anything yet, but I could see him being an annoying character I don't like, because Toku kids in general are just obnoxious. So, like, I could see him being a character I don't like. He hasn't done anything that made me really like him per se yet. So, like, I'm interested to see how that goes, for sure. I'm also interested to see the explanation behind his powers, because obviously it's going to somehow tie into Big Bear, which we've heard, and you can just infer, even if you hadn't seen the scans and stuff. But, just based on the fact that, you know, it was established that Commander created his own power system that was then legitimized. But I'm curious how Bear's, maybe it's like a similar process, but like why his is legitimized. He's also using a standard changer, so I don't know, it'll be interesting. But anyway, it was overall a good week. I'm glad that Kyuranger had a little bit of momentum. My hope is that after we debut Blue, they're able to keep a little bit of a decent momentum and don't just do episodes about stealing birthdays. So yeah, overall, good episode, 8 out of 10. I enjoyed it. Good debut for our 6th Ranger. Anyway, until next time, I the Crazy Podcast at WriterDoingDramas.com, and of course, don't forget to like, comment, subscribe. Till next time, Dawson Ryder, signing.